Hume has awakened me from my dogmatic slumber. And this is what set Kant off on his project to prove that there are, or to explore if there are external objects that exist outside of us, and whether those things can be known a priori or not, which he thinks is the task of metaphysics. So, in the Prolegomena, Kant starts out, and he first distinguishes, he says if something's going to be a science, there are two things you have to know about it. You have to know what the source of the knowledge is, and you have to know what the kind of knowledge is that science can undertake. And he says, starting off with metaphysics, if we're looking at metaphysics, the source of knowledge cannot be something that's provided by the senses, because things that are provided by the senses are things that are studied in the natural sciences. And metaphysics is something that necessarily, just by remember the name of the word, means beyond physics. So it's something that goes beyond the physical world. So the source of metaphysics cannot be something that's known after experience. It has to be something that's known a priori, prior to experience. Otherwise, it would belong in the realm of physics or the natural sciences. And the second kind of knowledge, the second question is the type of knowledge that metaphysics is after. And he starts out talking about this distinction between, and we talked about this a good deal in class, the distinction between analytic and synthetic propositions or synthetic truths. And remember, an analytic proposition or truth is, Kant talks about, he says, the statement, all bodies are extended. And he says of course that's true, and it's necessarily true, and it's also analytically true, because by analytic truth he just means a statement that wherein the truth of the statement lies in the fact that the second concept that's mentioned is already contained within the first concept. So basically it's part of the definition of the first thing. So it's just the definition of a body is that it's extended. That's just part of the necessary conditions for something to exist. So sure, it's true, it's necessarily true, and it can even be known a priori. But it doesn't contribute a lot to our knowledge, and Kant says that that's sort of the case for all analytic truths. That, they're useful, they show us a way, and they're all based on the principle of contradiction, or the law of contradiction, which says that no contradiction is true. So they show us the way, they give us some building blocks, but they don't say anything important. And that's when he makes this distinction between analytic and synthetic truths. And a synthetic truth is something that actually adds new knowledge to the concept. So he gave the example of all bodies are heavy, or we could say all bodies are red, or something like that, or all bodies possess color. Even though that may not be the case, it's something that's going to add something to that particular concept. And Kant says, in the past we've thought, basically the only type of a priori things that we can know are things that are analytic. And Kant says, well, that's just a mistake. And the entire purpose of metaphysics should be to discover synthetic a priori truths. So things that we can know without experiencing them, but yet things that actually add new knowledge to our understanding. And Kant gives a couple of examples of those. He says that those things can be found in pure, and remember when he says pure, he means theoretical. He means that something that's not derived from the senses. So he says pure math and like arithmetic. He thinks the statement, this is a bit contentious, he thinks the statement 2 plus 2 equals 4 is synthetic. Whereas most people would say, no, look, it's just definitional. We're just saying that the concept of 4 contains 2 and 2, and 2 plus 2 is just identical to 4. But Kant says, you can search 2 and 2 all you want, and you're never going to get the concept of 4 out of it. So it's adding something new to our understanding. Likewise, he thinks that there are principles in pure physics, theoretical physics, the laws of Newton's laws of motion, things like that. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. He thinks that those are things that we can, that add new knowledge to our understanding of things, but yet these are things that can be derived prior to experience. And as I mentioned in class, we're not going to talk about this too much, but the way that Kant thinks that these things can be known a priori is based on his idea of the categories of understanding. So our reason, our pure reason, in his book, The Critique of Pure Reason, he discusses this at length. and ad nauseum, some people would say. But he talks about the way our reason or the way reason works in any rational being. And there are certain categories that we process all the information that comes in through our senses, and we have to process that in a particular way. So things are necessarily known to us a priori because of the way that our cognition, the way that our reason is structured. Um, so yeah, with these principles of theoretical physics and things like that, I mean, we talked about force equals mass times acceleration. There's just something that's hardwired in our cognition that makes us understand that particular phenomenon in that way. And Kant, he distinguishes between two things which are called phenomenon and noumena. And phenomena are things as we understand them once they go through our categories of understanding, and the noumena are the things that just exist in the external world. And Kant actually thinks that we have no access to those things at all. I mean, we know that there's something out there, but we have no insight into what it actually is. So unfortunately, Kant actually ends up concluding that metaphysics, this idea of forming synthetic a priori propositions, is in fact impossible. The only arenas that it can actually happen are in pure math and pure physics. So Kant does think that there's something that exists outside of us, but we have no conception of what it is. And the only way that we know what it is because based on our phenomenal understanding. So that's Kant's Prolegomena. This week we're going to be looking at a couple of continental philosophers, and I'm be interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. And yeah, I know I haven't gotten the readings up this weekend. I apologize for that. I've been out of town, but I'm going to get them up first thing tomorrow morning. So see you guys on Tuesday.